Salutations gamers, I'm the OgichiGame, and welcome back to the animation tutorial series. Now, that's slightly bad news, but also good news. The bad news is, I've been under a lot of stress, and I'm very sick again, so I'm behind schedule, and I haven't gotten around to working on Scene 3 yet, but hopefully I'll be on the top of that next week, but that's okay because there's another project that I was working. There's a collaboratory project that I'm doing with Maskcat, which involves a few animated scenes, and I animated one of those yesterday. It's very, very simple, but I'm gonna show it anyway because it's something that we haven't talked about yet, which is tear animations. Now, as you can probably tell by the face here, this is supposed to be very comedic. It's supposed to be a very funny thing we're doing now. Now I've cut out the audio so that you don't get any spoilers yet for that project, but I do suggest you check out Maskcat's channel. And in fact, I will also, when the project I'm talking about does come out on her channel, I will leave a comment in this video saying that it's out and what it is and that you should watch it because it's really hilarious. But anyway, moving back to this, now that that shameless promotion has been pushed out of the way, let's look at the animation. So, very basically, you'll see you have this bubble and then it goes across and then it goes down the face. Okay? And it's very simple. Like I said, it's very simple looking because, well, it's supposed to be for comedic effects, so the tear is very cartoony, very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's easily recognizable. There we go. It's easily recognizable, and it looks kind of silly, because of how kind of overdone it basically is. But anyway, so with this animation, it's pretty simple. All I have, if I go back and show you, first we have this little bubble up here. Okay, then it streams across the face and into another bubble. Then a little bit later, it goes down the face. Simple. And the way that we achieve that is through a mask in this tear layer. So we have this mask, which I will show you here, as well as 3 other layers. Tier 1.5 is, hold on, it's that part, this part, not the bubble. Tier is the bubble. Tier is this bubble. Tier 1.5 is the rest of that. And then Tier 2 is what streams down the face. Okay. And the way that we get this all to work is through this mask, which is, if we right-click on it, you'll see it is add to mask, but keep invisible, so we can't see it, but it is affecting everything. So it moves in, and then we have it sort of, as you can see, as it moves around and causes things to appear as they need to. Simple, right? Very simple stuff. But there's more to it than that. As you probably have noticed, hey, this here is very static, right? And tears are not static like this because they're not solid. They're liquid. And so they're not a solid thing. They move about, right? They move about. And there is a way to do that. So if I go into just Tier 1, you'll see if I go onto the vector layer. Now, I don't know how you can do this in Flash, but in Anime Studio, under the layer settings, if you go into the vectors tab, there's a special thing that you can do called noisy outline and noisy fill, and then animate that noise. Now, noise is a strange word to say, especially with a sinus issue going on. But anyway, so if I don't have the animated noise, it's just kind of all over the place, right? Kind of like this, see? But if I do have animated noise, that means it's going to be all bubbly like this. Now, depending on how much I offset these pixels, depends on how crazy it can get, right? Now, I only put it at 3 because these are very small, and so this is actually going to be a significant amount. Now, I have the video right here you can see. Now, you won't be able to see it rendered. Now, see how it's all kind of bubbly? Right? So it looks... So that's just for the effect, so see, it's kind of bubbly. Oh no! Oh no! But anyway, so you can see it there, and that's very simple. Again, you just go into here, go to Vector, and select Noisy Outline, Noisy Fill, Animated Noise, and then set this to a certain amount of offset pixels to create to create that effect. Now, you may be wondering about more realistic looking tears, right? Potentially. So you're probably saying, like, this looks very simplistic, and well, you'd be right because it is simplistic. Again, it was very cartoony. It's supposed to be very easily recognizable so that it could be funny, which actually worked rather well in my favor because, as any animator or artist will tell you, the more quality something has, the longer it takes to make. This took not too long to make because, again, it's very simplistic because the simplicity of it adds to the humor. Because if I made it super realistic, it could probably still be funny, but at the same time, I feel like this looks a bit more funny, at least to me. But I can tell you how to make something look a bit more realistic, if you want. And in fact, I will begin. Let's see. Actually, let's start from the very beginning. Okay? So, let's start off by creating, on layer 0, a vector. Sorry. This will be bubble 1. We'll call it bubble 1. Okay, so bubble 1 is, we need to make it curved like so, and will be here. It's going to be very small at the beginning. Okay, we're also going to make it have a 3 width. Now, going back into the bubble, we need this to look... Okay, so we're actually going to make this gray, and you'll see what I'm doing in a minute here. Like so. Very close to the same. Okay. Then we go into bubble 1, lower the opacity to something like 25%. Not quite enough yet. So let's go even more. Let's go to something like 15% maybe. And actually, let's lower down the fill. So again, if we were making something like a realistic looking tear. Now, as you can see, the reason why I didn't go with something like a realistic looking tear is because the eye. This eye is a problem. So a realistic looking tear is actually kind of gray, which is an issue, right? In fact, for this effect, let me bring in something else I can use with an eye that's not all completely pupil, if I can. I'm not going to use that one. Let's see. Let's use... I use Pinkie Pie a lot for things. I could... nah, just use Pinkie Pie. Okay. So let's actually bring up Pinkie Pie. And the reason I'm bringing up Pinkie Pie is, well, for the simple reason that Pinkie Pie has the kind of eye, has a regular old eye that we can use. Which you'll see, yep, there we go. So, it's not a big face full of pupil. Actually, the TQ side layer probably wasn't the best one to go with, but whatever. So, let's go back to bubble. So, if we take the bubble, move it over. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Of course, we still have the issue of all that business. Now, actually, hold on. Let me go back into this. I have a better idea. Let's turn this back to opacity 100. You're going to see what I'm about to do in a second here. We can actually change the opacity of the fill alone without changing the outline by going in to the color picker and lowering this bar. Actually, let's bring that up a bit. Right about here. Okay. Now let's change that black outline to something a bit grayer. And lower its opacity separately. Okay. Maybe a bit higher. Maybe a bit lower. Or a bit more. Okay. So if we render that, you'll see it looks kind of like that. Okay, that's fine. And let's go into the vector layer and just overall lower it down just ever so slightly. Okay. That works. And then go into it and give it a more blue hue. Just go ever so slightly over. Give it that bluish hue. Like so. Make it a bit more recognizable. So, oh, right, and I'll also switch your mouth layer over to a frown just to make this... just to make that look a bit better. But anyway, so... and then we can go into that bubble layer, go into the vector, and now you'll see what I'm talking about. Noisy outline, noisy fill, and animated noise. I'm terribly sorry. Like I said, I'm very sick. I'm going to try to do this, though. So there. Now that's going to be kind of all bubbly. Okay. So we want the bubble to get to this size. So let's do it this way. Let's see here. Animation. Add keyframe. Frame before it will show how small we actually want it to be. Right, and animation, add keyframe. Right. Now let's move this keyframe. Let's see how far it... Right. Okay, also delete these. I think. Actually, hold on. Copy. Paste. So... should get bigger. Right. Let's see the speed at which it gets big. Although we don't want it to appear until right about here. So going into this, visibility, nope, but then immediately apply it the second that we need it, right here. Visible again, apply. Okay, now as soon as it's big enough, right here, see this? As soon as it gets that big, what it has to do is then it needs to stream across the face into another bubble. Okay? And again, I'm trying to show you how realistic looking here should kind of go. Sorry. So going back to frame 0, we would have another vector. We will call this stream. It's the bubbles there. It's about that size. It needs to go from here to there. Right. So going back into there, let's create our shape. Hopefully with the same... Right. Go back to stream. Want it to be here-ish. Want it to be there-ish, right? And it needs to be up here. Okay. Right. Oh, not quite. Not quite. Bring that down to here. Got it. That works for me. Host. I'm terribly sorry. Okay. And we can actually bring this below that. Like so. Let's see how that looks. Right. Terribly sorry. Okay. Right. Okay. Oh boy. Actually, you know what? How long have I been going? Only about 16 minutes, which isn't too good. I think I'm getting a lot worse. So, I'm actually going to have to end this prematurely. Sorry, but next week I will be on top of Scene 3 and this tier thing. I will show you how to do the realistic tier. So, I'm terribly sorry. But hopefully you get the idea with the basic tier that I was doing. I'll come back to this soon and show you how to do the realistic looking tier later. But anyway, yeah, so I have to end this episode here. Terribly sorry, but my health comes first, I'm afraid. So, if you all like the, if you like this episode, make sure to hit like on it. Otherwise, I'll see all of you in the next episode. Bye-bye! Oh boy, I need some tea.